So, get this, I'm literally shaking just typing this out, even though it's been a few months. You ever have one of those moments where your entire life changes in the span of a single breath? Like, 1 minute you're passing the mashed potatoes, and the next, you realize the people who share your DNA are actually your biggest enemies? That was my Thanksgiving. Or, as I like to call it, the day I stopped being a wallet with legs and started being a human being. Before I go any further, drop a comment right now and tell me where are you watching from? I really need to know I'm not just screaming into the void here, because what happened next is honestly something out of a movie. Alright, so let's set the scene. We're at my parents' place. The house smells like sage and turkey, and everyone is there, my parents, my golden child, sister Natalie, her husband Joel, the human equivalent of a LinkedIn profile in a blazer, and my cousin Laura. I've always been the quiet one. The one who worked 2 jobs to get through college, the one who makes 6 figures now but still drives a 10-year-old car. Natalie? She's the opposite. She's a professional victim with a pageant queen smile. She's flunked out of everything she's ever tried, but somehow, I'm always the toxic one because I don't post enough family selfies on Instagram. We're about 5 minutes away from carving the bird when Natalie stands up. She's got this smug, rehearsed look on her face, the one she used to wear when we were kids right before she got me grounded for something she did. Before we eat, she says, her voice all sweet and dripping with fake sincerity, there's something we need to say. As a family. The room goes dead silent. My gut clenches. I see my mom nodding, and my dad won't even look at me. He's just staring at his beer like it's the most interesting thing in the world. We had a family vote, Natalie continues, looking around the table like she's about to be crowned Miss America. And we've decided, you're not family anymore. I froze. I'm not kidding, I actually felt the blood drain out of my face. I expected a joke. I expected someone to laugh. But then, my cousin Laura started clapping. Like she was at a freaking concert. My Uncle Mitch raised his wine glass in a toast. And my own mother, the woman who raised me, actually chuckled and said, well, someone had to say it. It's just been so heavy having you around, dear. You've been toxic for years, Natalie added, leaning over the table, her eyes gleaming. We're finally done pretending. It was unanimous. You're out. I sat there, looking at the cold stuffing on my plate. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. They had actually rehearsed this. They sat down, probably in a group chat I wasn't in, and voted to exile me on Thanksgiving. Wow, I said, pushing my chair back slowly. The screech of the wood on the floor sounded like a gunshot. You guys actually did it. A vote? It's for the best, son, my dad muttered. You just don't fit the vibe anymore. You're too judgmental. Judgmental. That's what they call it when you ask when they're going to pay back the loan for the emergency surgery that turned out to be a cruise. I looked at their faces. Not a single person looked guilty. They looked relieved. Like they had just taken out the trash. Good, I said quietly. My voice wasn't shaking anymore. It was cold. Actually, that's great. Because I figured this might happen. I reached into my bag, which I'd kept right by my feet. Natalie blinked, her smirk faltering for just a second. I pulled out a thick, heavy manila folder. I didn't throw it, I placed it gently, almost lovingly, in the center of the table, right next to the gravy boat. Thunk. What is that? Natalie asked, her voice dropping an octave. Consider it my parting gift, I smiled. I leaned back and folded my arms. Since I'm not family, I guess you won't be needing what's inside. Go ahead, Nat, open it. She snatched it up, her mouth twisted in that snide little look she always wears when she thinks she's winning. She ripped it open, ready to mock whatever was inside. She turned the first page. She stopped smiling. She turned the second page. Her face went from pale to ghostly white. By the third page, she wasn't just quiet, she was trembling. Then, she screamed. I mean, a blood-curdling, horror movie-style shriek. Her chair crashed backward as she bolted upright, slamming the folder shut like it had literally burned her skin. You monster, she wailed, pointing a shaking finger at me. You messed up, twisted weirdo. How could you? The whole table erupted. Gasps everywhere. Joel, her husband, looked confused and grabbed the folder before she could hide it. He flipped it open, and his jaw hit the floor. He looked at me, then at his wife, then back at the papers. Is this real? He whispered. I nodded once, my heart cold as ice. Every word. Every receipt. Every screenshot. Every hotel check-in. The room went so silent you could hear a fork clink in the kitchen. My mother looked like she was gasping for air, and Natalie looked like she wanted to crawl under the floorboards and disappear. They thought they were voting me out. They thought they were taking my power away. But they had no idea that for the last 5 years, I hadn't just been their ATM, I had been their bookkeeper. And the secrets in that folder? They weren't just about money. They were about to burn every single bridge in that room to the ground. Wait until you hear what was on page 4. It changes everything. So, there we are. Thanksgiving dinner is basically ruined, the turkey is getting cold, and my sister is hyperventilating like she just saw a ghost. Honestly? She kind of did. She saw the ghost of every lie she's told for the last 5 years staring back at her in high-definition print. Joel is still holding the folder, and his face is turning this weird shade of gray. You have to understand, Joel isn't a bad guy, he's just oblivious. He's the kind of guy who thinks investment means buying a new set of golf clubs. He had no idea his life was a house of cards. Natalie, Joel says, his voice sounding like it's coming from underwater. What is this about Santa Monica? And who the heck is Alyssa? Natalie's head snaps toward him. It's nothing. He's lying. He's obsessed and he's trying to ruin my life because we kicked him out. I just sat there, taking a slow sip of my water. I'm not family, remember? I don't have the energy to be obsessed with you. I just have the receipts. See, here's the thing, they all thought I was the boring brother. The one who just worked and sat in his quiet apartment. They thought I was a doormat because I never fought back when they made fun of me for being single or called me the family accountant. But being an accountant means you know how to track the flow of everything. I looked at my mom. She was trying to play peacemaker, her usual move. Honey, let's just put the papers away. It's Thanksgiving. We can talk about money later. It's not just money, Mom, I said, my voice steady. Flip to page 10. Go ahead, Joel. Show her page 10. Joel flips the page. It's a series of screenshots. Private messages from a group chat Natalie had with her besties. In those messages, she wasn't just venting. She was mocking our parents. She called our mom a clueless enabler and joked about how she was going to bleed the inheritance dry before our dad even passed away. She even detailed how she convinced Mom that heat bill was overdue so she could get cash for a designer handbag. My mom's hand went to her throat. Natalie? You said the house was freezing. I was under stress. Natalie exploded, slamming her hands on the table. I'm always under stress. And you, she turned to me, her eyes full of pure venom, you're a control freak. Who keeps records like this? Who prints out bank transfers from 3 years ago? You're sick. I'm sick? I laughed. It was a cold, sharp sound. I'm sick because I kept a record of the $8,000 I gave Joel for his back surgery that actually went to his secret rehab stint? Or the $12,000 I paid toward Mom's credit cards while she was telling everyone I was stingy? The table went silent again. Uncle Mitch lowered his glass. Cousin Laura, the one who was clapping 5 minutes ago? She was suddenly very interested in her fingernails. I've sent over $78,000 to people in this room over the last 5 years, I said, leaning forward. 78,000. And not once did any of you ask how I was doing. You only called when the bank called you. And the second I said no to co-signing that ridiculous wellness cafe loan, suddenly, I'm toxic. Suddenly, there's a family vote to get rid of me. You chose to help, Natalie screamed. Nobody forced you. You did it to make yourself feel superior. You love being the martyr. Is that what you told Alyssa in Santa Monica? I asked quietly. Natalie froze. Joel's eyes narrowed. Who is she, Nat? The folder says you spent $4,000 at a boutique hotel under a business retreat name. But this receipt shows 2 spa packages and a diamond bracelet. I don't remember seeing a bracelet. The betrayal was hitting the room in waves. It wasn't just me versus them anymore. It was all of them versus each other. My dad finally looked up, his face tired. Is this true? All of it? The money, the lies? It's all there, Dad, I said. Including the time Natalie told you she couldn't afford your dental work because she was helping me with my rent. Check the date. That's the same week I bought you that new lawnmower because you said yours blew up. She took the money you had saved and told you I was the one who needed it. My dad looked at Natalie. For the first time in my life, I saw him look at her without that golden child glow. He looked at her like she was a stranger. I had to. Natalie cried, the fake tears finally starting to flow. Everything is so expensive. Joel lost his job, and I didn't want to worry you guys. I was trying to protect the family. By voting out the only person who was actually keeping you afloat? I asked. That's a bold strategy, Nat. We were just angry, my mom wailed, reaching for my hand across the table. I pulled it back. We didn't mean it, honey. The vote, it was just a way to show you how much we were hurting. We're still family. No, I said, standing up. That's the thing. You made your choice. You stood up, you clapped, you cheered. You told me I wasn't part of this. And honestly? It was the best gift you could have given me. Because now, I don't have to feel guilty about what happens next. What do you mean, what happens next? My dad asked, his voice shaking. I reached into my coat pocket. I hadn't even shown them the nuclear option yet. Natalie saw me reaching and she literally flinched. She knew I wasn't done. You guys want to talk about toxic? I said. Let's talk about legalities. Because while you were planning a dinner to exile me, I was meeting with a lawyer to finalize some paperwork of my own. I pulled out a second, smaller envelope. This one didn't have receipts. It had signatures. Wait, Joel said, looking at the folder again. There's more in here. Natalie, why is there a screenshot of a Tinder profile in your name from last month? Natalie's face went from white to a deep, angry purple. The escalation was reaching a breaking point. The secondary conflict, the total collapse of Natalie and Joel's marriage, was happening right over the mashed potatoes. But I wasn't looking at them. I was looking at the second envelope in my hand. You guys thought you were cutting me off, I whispered, loud enough for everyone to hear. But I'm the one who already cut the cord. And you have no idea how much this is going to cost you. I tossed the second envelope onto the table. It slid right into the cranberry sauce. Open it, I challenged. See what not being family actually looks like. This is it. The moment where the air literally left the room. You could have heard a pin drop on the rug, if not for the sound of Natalie's heavy, panicked breathing. Joel reached out with a trembling hand and swiped the second envelope out of the cranberry sauce. He didn't even wipe it off. He just ripped it open. He started reading, and his eyes went wide, like, cartoonishly wide. He looked at my parents, then at me, then back at the paper. Power of attorney? Joel whispered. Revoked? Medical proxy, removed? Daniel, what is this? It's my resignation, I said, and for the first time in 10 years, my voice didn't have a single tremor. I've already signed the papers. I am legally and emotionally no longer responsible for any of you. Dad, you know that family trust you wanted me to manage? I've officially declined the position. Mom, the emergency contact at your doctor's office? Changed it to Natalie. Good luck getting her to pick up the phone when she's at a spa in Santa Monica. My mother let out a strangled gasp. You're cutting ties? Completely? But, the mortgage, Daniel. The bank called yesterday. You said you'd help us look at the refinance. I'm not family, Mom, I said, leaning over and looking her dead in the eye. Remember? You laughed. You said someone had to say it. So, let Natalie say it to the bank. Let her be the strong one for once. Natalie finally snapped. She lunged across the table, trying to grab the folder back from Joel, but he shoved his chair away from her. Who's Alyssa, Natalie? He roared. It was the loudest I'd ever heard him speak. And why was my credit card used for a hotel room when you told me you were at a grief counseling weekend for your friend? I had to get away from him, she pointed at me, her face contorted. He makes me feel so small. I needed someone who actually cared about me. So you cheated? Joel's voice was dangerously low. And you used the money he gave us for rent to fund your little affair? While making me feel like a loser because I couldn't provide. I was protecting you, she shrieked, but the lie was so pathetic even my dad flinched. I didn't stay to watch the rest of their marriage dissolve. I grabbed my coat. My work here was done. I had given them exactly what they asked for, a world where I wasn't part of the family. You're being so selfish, my mom cried, the tears finally streaming down her face. We made a mistake, okay? We were just stressed. We're still your blood. I stopped at the door and turned back. The room was a wreck. The food was cold, the folder was bleeding secrets across the tablecloth, and my sister was a crumbled heap of ruined mascara. No, I said, my voice dropping to a whisper. You're not my family. You're just people I used to know who happen to have my last name. Have a great dinner. I hope the turkey was worth it. I walked out. I didn't look back. I stepped onto the porch, felt the cold November air hit my face, and I took a breath. A real, deep, lung-filling breath. For the first time in my life, I wasn't carrying the weight of 5 other people's failures. I drove to a 24-hour diner 3 towns over. I ordered a burger, sat in a quiet booth, and blocked every single one of their numbers. It's been months now. I moved to a new city, got a job that actually appreciates my brain instead of my bank account, and started therapy to unlearn the doormat lifestyle I'd been trapped in. Joel actually reached out to me through a LinkedIn message, classic Joel. He told me he filed for divorce. Turns out, the Alyssa in the folder was just the tip of the iceberg. Natalie had been running scams on him for years. He thanked me for the folder. He said it was the wake-up call he didn't know he needed. My mom still tries to send letters. She says they're underwater on the house and that Dad's health isn't great. She says they need me. But I know what they really need, and it isn't me. It's the version of me that never said no. That guy is dead. I'm finally living. I wake up early, I go for runs, and I don't flinch when my phone vibrates. I've realized that peace isn't the absence of conflict, it's the absence of people who create it. So, here's my question for you guys, did I go too far? Or was the nuclear folder the only way to finally get my life back? Drop your thoughts below. I'm reading every single one.